Back at the top business news stories, and a spat is emerging amongst European nations about whether ski resorts should be allowed to reopen during the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel says she'll seek an EU vote to close all ski resorts across the bloc for the Christmas period. But she's facing resistance, notably from neighbouring Austria. Well, let's get more now from our business editor, Kate Moody. Kate, why is the ski industry such a hot topic all of a sudden?
Well, a lot of money is at stake here, Tom, but so too is the efficacy, or perhaps not, of the limited lockdowns that are starting to be eased across Europe. Now, Angela Merkel says there needs to be agreement at an EU level, at least through the Christmas period, that ski resorts need to stay closed. Italy has warned that allowing slopes to open could prompt a third wave of the coronavirus. The French Prime Minister Jean Castex said earlier today that French ski resorts will be allowed to open, but that ski lifts and trails will have to stay closed until further notice. Restaurants and cafes, of course, in those resorts will have to remain closed as well until at least mid-January. Now, on the other hand, we've got Austria, who has vowed to allow skiing, but not après-ski parties or socializing. And in Switzerland, which isn't part of the EU, many ski resorts are already open. Now, millions of skiers and snowboarders head to the Alps each winter. They bring in some 34 billion euros in revenue. The Christmas and New Year period account for about a third of the winter season earnings. In Italy and France, the industry brings in about 11 and 10 billion euros respectively. Austria has said that it could stand to lose 2 billion euros if it's forced to close its alpine resorts, even for this Christmas period. Health authorities really saying that while the outdoor activities in and of themselves aren't necessarily the problem here, they're reminding us that a ski resort in Austria was actually one of the hot spots of the coronavirus pandemic when it first began hitting Europe earlier this year at the beginning of 2020. And they're, of course, very anxious to avoid any sort of a repeat there.
Okay, so that's the ski industry. The airline industry has also been struggling. They want clarity. And one carrier thinks it might have come up with a way to reduce health risks on transatlantic flights. Tell us more.
Well, at least to get around the 2-week quarantine or mandatory self-isolation order, Delta Airlines and Alitalia, which are partner airlines, are launching a transatlantic travel corridor. Now, for now, it's between Atlanta and New York in the U.S. and Rome, Italy. Passengers would have to provide a negative COVID test result taken within 72 hours of departure, and then 2 more rapid tests at the airports, both before boarding and upon arrival. Delta's CEO says that this sort of a careful testing protocol is the best and, for now, only way to resume international travel. The aviation industry in general has said that these quarantine rules have played a huge part in dampening demand for overseas travel. A number of airlines, meanwhile, have said that they're going to begin using a sort of digital health pass. It's a mobile app that's been developed in partnership with the World Economic Forum to allow passengers to help coordinate their test results from throughout different countries and certify that they really are COVID-free.
Okay, so that's the situation in this sort of international airline industry. But let's look domestically at the United States. And millions of people are traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday. And that's despite health warnings from all the major public health authorities there.
Tom, around 5 million people passed through airport screening in the U.S. just since Friday. Those are levels absolutely unseen since March. Those numbers are still down about 60% compared to last Thanksgiving. This is usually the busiest travel week of the year in the United States, but it is still the largest amount of air travel recorded since the start of the pandemic. Millions more people, of course, traveling on the road as well. Now, many families in America celebrate Thanksgiving in big groups, sometimes 2 or even 3 dozen people around a table. Surveys suggest that many of them have scaled down their traditional gatherings this year, and they'll be observing social distancing or perhaps wearing masks during these gatherings. One poll, though, showed that some 39% of Americans had not changed their plans for the holiday at all, despite an uptick in coronavirus cases and warnings from health officials. Dr. Anthony Fauci, among the country's top infectious disease experts, he's been warning that this could lead to an explosion of cases. He says it would set up a surge on top of a surge already. Now, Canadians celebrated their Thanksgiving a few weeks ago, and there was a spike in coronavirus infections in Canada, despite similar warnings there. And a lot of people see this as a really cautionary tale for countries around the world. We're just a month before Christmas.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that, Kate Moody there with today's business. Thank you very much indeed to you. That's it from me. I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.